Hey guys, and welcome back to another session here in the Lumix Lounge. We're here in wonderful Nashville, Tennessee at Imaging USA 2015. Sitting on stage with another good friend of mine, Mr. Skip Cohen, the master of the business aspects of photography and a lot more. He's the guy behind Skip Cohen University. And, you know, truth be told, this guy has forgotten more about photography and business than I probably know today. Skip.
That was good.
That was good. See how that just rolled out?
I've forgotten that was honest to God, I'm so glad my feet were off the floor. You laid a lot of stuff out there.
You know, I lay it on thick, and then it trails
was on
off.
Thick. That was very thick. That was good.
Skip, welcome.
Yes.
It's good to see you again. It's
yes.
good to see you again. You know, when you come on the stage, I always like to ask you a barrage of questions about business stuff, because that's what you do. I mean, you know this stuff.
That is what I do.
And it's the Achilles heel of most photographers, I would argue most creatives, is that, you know, we live in a world of the field of dreams. You know, if you build it, they will come. If you shoot it, they will come in terms of customers and profits and all that stuff. Let's start this off with what's one of the big mistakes that you see from photographers in terms of when they're starting a business or saying that, hey, I want to be a professional photographer and pay my rent with my camera. What's the first mistake?
Number one, they don't pay attention to their skill set. Mm-hmm. They think that gear is going to make them a better photographer. It's not about the gear, it's about the skill set. And you and I were talking before about a mutual buddy, Scott Kelby. Yeah. Scott did a program recently, and I listened to him. I was there for the whole program for a change. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how golfers will go into a golf store looking for a particular club to improve their golf game. Yeah. Well, photographers starting out go in the same way, thinking that, oh, if I have this particular lens or this particular camera, it's going to raise the bar on my images. Yeah. If you don't have the skill set, then forget all the rest of it, because any moron can get their first client. Yeah. It's getting the first client to come back and to tell another 6 clients how good you are. But how do you? So it starts with your skill set. How
do you do that, though? I mean, you know, speaking specifically to the new photographers that come to shows like this, and they see, you know, the Sal Cincatas, the Scott Kelbys, all the people, you know, the folks that they admire and want to be like on stage, and the natural inclination is to say, hey, if Sal's shooting with that and these lights and that camera, if I want to get to be like him, I got to buy that stuff.
Well, those are the ingredients. You don't have to buy that stuff, but those are the ingredients. It's like a great cook. 98% of the cooks in the world that are really good. I mean, I think of myself as a good cook because Sheila's got me following a recipe. Yeah. If I try and do it on my own, if I try to do it on my own, we're all going to die. It's going to be, we're going to be sick, slowly, and it's not going to be fun. Yeah. So paying attention to the gear is important, but then you've got to learn what to do with the gear. Right. And it's not about the gear. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a point where once you know the skill set, then it's time. I mean, for example, you got a lot of photographers. Everybody's got a story about buying one exotic lens or something. Joe Busing told a story about buying a tilt-shift lens because he thought it would make his work look so different when he first started. Yeah. And instead, he locked up thousands of dollars of cash on a lens that he barely ever used,
that starts
and sold it later on for a loss.
Yeah.
When he could have just gone out and rented it to see if he was really going to use it. Right. So it's just not about the gear, but you still need to pay attention to what lights and how they use them, what focal lengths you want for your camera. You always want to have a backup camera body. Yep. No pro ever went to shoot a wedding with one flash and one body.
That's right.
It's not going to happen. You need to know what to do.
It's like going on a road trip without a spare tire.
You got it.
Through the mountains.
You got it. Through the mountains. In a storm, without chains and no spare.
And then getting upset when when bad things happen. Yeah. Okay, so, all right. So when you look at this from the standpoint, it's not about the gear, right? And I'm going to take this in a slightly different tack. I was having a conversation with someone a while back about art and photography, and it was actually my friend Renee Robin, and she made the comment that most, and this is controversial, so she said most photographers today are not artists because the cameras do too much of the work. What do you comment on that? What do you think?
I agree with her. Yeah. It's not only that, but there's a difference between just getting pictures and taking pictures and moving your camera, framing, paying attention to the back, to what you're looking at, your subject. Yeah. Mary Ellen Mark, I did a podcast with her a couple years ago. She talked about how she has every student. Can I use your props here? Thank you. Can I have this?
Yeah.
She has every
Panasonic.
student.
It's all yours.
Thank you very much. Tom, she tapes over the screen.
Yeah.
She makes every student tape over the screen. And the reason for that is that when you can chimp and you take the shot, you look down, you say, oh, I got it, and you move away.
Yeah.
But the real emotion might not be for another 10 or 20 seconds if you hung in there longer.
Yeah.
So you thought you got that tear in Grandma's eye, but you didn't see the look on the child's face looking up at Grandma because you thought you had it, so you went away. And that's why she talks about she still loves shooting film, because it forces you to stay in there longer.
Yeah.
So, and I think we do have a lot of photographers. Their definition of art is being able to tweak in some filters on Photoshop.
Right.
That's not what it's about.
Right. Yeah, and it's And when I was learning photography a long time ago, we learned. Hey, we're talking decades.
You had the gunpowder.
We had.
You had the gunpowder flash.
I had the Sun Pack. Remember the Sun Pack Thor hammer?
Yeah.
I had that.
Actually, that really was the Thor hammer.
It was the Thor hammer.
Yeah.
But when I learned photography in the military, we learned on slide film, which, as you know, is very unforgiving, and there's no chimping, and because you're on a mission, there's zero margin for error, and well, hey, I didn't get the shot because of this. You got to get the shot, which I think made me a better photographer. So, are we cranking out less competent photographers these days as technology gets better and better? Because it's not going to stop getting better. Right?
In a way, we are, but there's also a very thin line between passion and saying less qualified.
Yeah.
If the passion is there, and I think we've got more passionate photographers today than we've ever had before because there's so many tools. So I don't think that just because the equipment is getting better, it's changing things. And I mean, you and I are sitting here in the Lumix booth.
Yeah.
Lumix has totally changed the way I photograph today. And I've been in this business a long time.
Yeah.
And I am
at
totally,
least 5 years,
at least 5, 6. I am totally revitalized over the things that I can do with Panasonic's camera. It's changed everything. I have a camera with me almost all the time now because they're smaller, lighter, because I can shoot 4K video and have some fun going back on the creative side between still images and video.
Yeah.
So, I guess you could say we have more photographers today that aren't qualified yet, but that doesn't mean that we don't have more photographers that aren't passionate, because there's an awful lot of passion out there. And just the fact that you'll do a workshop and you'll get standing room only is a really good sign. And we're kind of going full circle where photographers that are getting back to teaching really good, solid bread and butter posing and lighting, you'll see their programs sold out because everybody's finally realizing that Uncle Harry can get grab shots.
Yeah.
How am I going to make my work look different than, how do I make myself look like a professional?
How do I differentiate myself? Yeah, and it's back to basics again.
That's it.
So, I mean, that means a lot. I mean, I think it's a poignant statement that you are using these smaller cameras now, and you say, considering your pedigree, right? I mean, you worked at, what were you doing in Hasselblad? There was a giant...
I had a warehouse of $2 million worth of inventory at any given time.
And that's the camera that back then, I don't know about now, but back then that was the holy grail of cameras. If you can get that camera, then you're a big deal. Right?
Every space mission for I don't know how many years.
Right.
So,
And now fast forward to here, 2015 February, you're using these tiny cameras and saying that, you're doing the best work that you've ever done, right?
I'm not the best work yet, but I'm having the most fun.
Yeah.
And it's making me want to learn more.
Making you want to learn more because
because you start to realize
resistance is gone.
Well, you start to realize how much you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's that line about every day I wake up and I realize that there's more that I haven't learned yet.
Yeah. As I lose brain cells.
As I lose brain cells. That's right.
Okay. So
stop laughing down there in the front row.
So here's a little bit more controversy, right? So in some of the other interviews this week, we talked about the career field of photography. Specifically on the photojournalist side of things, and how it's becoming more and more like the Stegosaurus in terms of you can't find them anymore. We had the Chicago Sun-Times axe their workforce and basically make them all contracts, and we've had what was the latest one? Sports Illustrated. No more photographers on staff there. What's happening there? I mean, what's from your standpoint?
It's funny. This question just came up on a panel last week in Kentucky at another convention.
Yeah.
And I made the observation that while well, if you go back about 25 years ago, Sears let go of their in-house staff. And everybody was up in arms because they decided to contract out.
Their photography staff.
Their photography staff. Their in-house catalog staff.
Oh, okay.
And they got rid of everybody. And they farmed it all out. If you look at Sports Illustrated, at the same time they've let go of some of their staff, Scott Stewart, who I just had breakfast with the other day, just picked up 2 double-page spreads and I think it was 2 more full-page shots of the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
And he's a freelance sports photographer, and they chose some of his images.
Yeah.
So while there's no question there's a change. Like I hate the Chicago nonsense where we're going to teach our reporters how to use their cell phones.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, I think that's going to come back and bite them.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get the
Probably
images.
Sooner than later. Yeah.
Joe McNally could shoot with a cell phone, and we'd go nuts with it. But here's one of the world's greatest photojournalists, photographers in general. There isn't anything he can't shoot.
Right.
And to say, well, we don't need his images. We'll teach a reporter how to use their iPhone.
That's ridiculous.
So I think there's a pendulum that swung the wrong way for a little bit, but I think sooner or later it's going to come back.
Yeah.
And I'm not really answering your question well enough.
No, but we don't know. I mean, the answer to the question is we don't know where it's going to go, but clearly these organizations are devaluing the skill set of the professional photographer because of, maybe these things, because things are easier and cell phones and all that other stuff, and people that don't have knowledge of what it takes to become an artisan in photography and get the shot and the decisive moment and all that, they're saying, anybody can do that. My Uncle Bob has this, let's save some money and give it to our reporters, and then they axe the photography staff, right?
Except sooner or later, they're going to have a magazine. I mean, remember what's happening in publishing, too. Magazines are getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
So at the same time, they're cutting back. From my perspective, it's like penny wise, dollar foolish. You're cutting the wrong things.
Yeah, yeah. So where do you come in on, if we move away from the discussion about print and move towards multimedia type things? We were talking, the last session was with Suzette Allen. We were talking about 4K photo, shooting 4K video with these cameras and then harvesting or extracting still frames from them. What do you think about that? Is that viable?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, people get upset because, those are, videographers and we're photographers. The point is, the line between the two is really thin. In the same way that it's hard to tell the difference between a commercial image and a portrait image. You look at some of the cosmetic ads that are just tight headshots or they're in black and white for some of the cologne ads. They qualify as a great portrait shot, as a portrait or as a business. And when you look at what's happening with video now on board, the reality is that sooner or later, the wedding album of the year is going to be by an artist who shot video but had great editing skills and took single frame images off to create an album.
Crazy.
It still takes an artist.
Yeah.
And Suzette's a perfect example.
Yeah.
In the next couple of weeks, we're going to launch a new program on SCU, a new feature called Suzette's Corner.
Oh, awesome.
And we're just going to feature things Suzette is doing. And if you think about what a photographer can do today, how cool is it to say to your client, not only am I going to photograph your wedding, but we're going to do a video combining still images and video from your engagement shoot that you can send out to all your friends for Circle the Date.
Yeah.
Or as a promo piece. You don't have to have that boring bio. That, I love photography because you don't have to do that. You could have a video now that shows a mix of your work, include video in there with 20, 30 seconds of you talking about why you love to be a photographer.
Yeah.
So the new technology, it's not a short suit. It's the greatest suit ever, and it's giving us more tools than any time in the 160 or 170 year history of photography, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
Well, you were around, so what was it? What are we, about 170 now?
170, 175, something like that. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, all right. Bringing it to a full close here. Right?
I don't want to. I want to stay here for hours and talk.
You can stay here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be gone, but you can stay here.
Okay, I'll stay here.
So let's talk about output, right, and methods of sharing. So there's the idea that, more controversy for you. Some photographers say that the idea of creating your art and printing it is a dying breed. Why are you printing? Everybody's sharing online. It's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Pinterest, it's wall displays in the airport, it's Times Square. Who wants physical atoms when you can have electrons? What do you think about that?
Can I say bullshit?
No, you can't say it.
No, I won't say it. I'm sorry, I won't say it. My apologies,
you can say
everybody.
it. You can say it. Yeah, don't bleep it.
No, bleep it. Edit that out. I'm so offended. I don't buy it at all.
Yeah.
First of all, we're sharing more images than we've ever shared before.
Yeah.
The internet changed the way we share photography.
Yeah.
Suddenly you could share things with everybody all over the world, people you did know, people you didn't know.
Yeah.
So the internet changed and gave us the ability to share hundreds of millions or billions of photographs every year, where before maybe we only had a few 100,000 were sharing if you were lucky.
Yeah.
So that's changed. So that's raised the bar. So more people are sharing electronic images. But at the same time, if you look at Michelle Solentano is a good example. She's got a whole thing that she's written called I Believe. Mm-hmm. And the argument is, I believe in prints because prints are going to last longer in your family.
Yeah.
And the issue is that, I don't know what to do. I have no place that I can play my 8-tracks anymore.
What
you
is
can't
that
find exactly. You can't find a car that's got a tape deck anymore.
No.
Most cars now have dropped CD players.
Yeah.
And you've got the plug-in for your iPhone or your
USB
iPod.
Port now. Yeah.
You've got a USB port. So there's a great photographer up in Toronto by the name of Brian Caparici at a wedding show.
Yeah.
Brian
he's
hands.
actually the host of Twip Weddings.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So you know Brian's routine. He hands a bride a floppy disk with his address on it, and says, "Take these home and look at the pictures when you get a chance. It's my work."
Yeah.
And they look at him like, "What are we supposed to do with a floppy?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Exactly." And he talks about prints.
Yeah.
And he did a video where the camera pans through the house, and instead of an album on the coffee table, you see a CD.
Mm-hmm.
In the frame, instead of a photograph, you see a jump drive.
Yeah.
On the wall is a floppy disk, thumbtacked instead of a print.
Brilliant.
And then you go back around to what should be there, and it changes that. So when you talk about what you're going to share with the next generation, or what are your grandchildren going to look at?
Mm-hmm. You're going to leave them framed artwork, or are you going to leave them
a floppy disk
folder?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you left them, if this was 20 years ago and you left them a 5-inch floppy, what are you going to do with it?
Nothing.
They don't have anything to play it on anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there's a big change going on. Do you still need to share electronically? Absolutely. Do you need to be able to give your client images some of them that they can post on Facebook and share on Instagram and link to from Twitter and everything else?
Yep.
You still need to do that, but at the same time, I think it's up to photographers to educate their clients better.
And I think one of the ways that we as photographers think, it's always or, right, instead of and. So it's JPEG or RAW, it's mirrorless or DSLR, it's film or digital, when it can very easily be and, and in this case it can be print and digital, right?
Yep.
Because the digital side and social media side is not going away, and it represents another method to get your images out there and to share them with the client, whereas the print side represent, I would say, the classier kind of artisanship side of photography, right?
But here's where your skill set comes in from the first question.
Yeah.
If your skill set is mediocre and you're giving people mediocre images to share, not you.
Okay.
I'm talking about you and I'm talking about you. No, Brent would never do that. If a photographer is giving out average images, then don't expect a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
You've got to make every image a wow print, and a wow print is any image that is so good that you only need to show that one image to get hired. Nice. So that's a wow print.
Yeah. Okay, so last question here. So wrapping it up and bringing it full circle on the business side.
Another question?
Another question about business. So at the top, we started with the number one kind of thing that you see photographers are doing wrong. Let's close it with next steps for photographers. If they're like, yeah, I'm guilty, I'm that guy, I need to get my stuff together, what do I do next? Yeah, what's next for me?
Go to every possible workshop and convention you can.
Yeah.
Follow TWIP.
Mm-hmm.
Follow SCU.
Yeah.
Look for every piece of content that you can get that's going to help you raise the bar.
Yeah.
Go to every possible convention, because a convention isn't just about technology or raising your skill set. It's about networking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Join the local guild. almost everybody lives in a community that within 50 miles of them, for most people, there's some monthly guild that meets. Get into that. Get active in your state meetups. Meetups. Get into your state association. Whatever there is out there, get active so you're spending time with other photographers. Read. Watch videos. The problem that we've gotten into is that we've got too many new photographers that think they can become great by just watching videos and online programming. You can no more do that than you could learn to drive a car never getting behind the wheel. You're not going to become a great photographer.
Karate.
Or karate. Oh yeah, I can. In fact, I bought some Tai Chi tapes years ago.
And
never could get into it. I'm watching the tape, could not do it.
It's not the Matrix, right?
No,
remember the Matrix? You could plug in and learn how to fly a helicopter.
That's right. Put it right there in the back of your head. No, it's taking the time to get to know the craft and really getting out and practice. And then there's that line from Roberto Valenzuela of, practice doesn't make perfect. What if you're practicing it wrong? Only perfect practice makes perfect, and you can't learn to practice it right if you don't take some of those hands-on workshops and really get out and shoot.
That's amazing. Brilliant. We'll leave it there. Skip Cohen.
I love hearing you say brilliant. That was good.
Brilliant. I'll say it again. Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. All right, guys, that's it. You heard it from the man himself, Mr. Skip Cohen here, talking about business and all things next generation photography. We're in Nashville, Tennessee at Imaging USA 2015. You can watch this video and all of the other videos from Lumix Lounge at lumixlounge.com. My name is Frederick Van Johnson. We'll see you in the next one.